freak weather causes damage to your home.
To give a little bit of attention to. And Jane in Johannesburg, I'm sorry, I don't think I'll be able to help you here. She's complaining about the fact that she's had her radio on 24 hours a day, but never heard anyone say anything about the ban on cigarettes. So I didn't panic buy or stockpile cigarettes. Now I've run out. Now I have to go through the lockdown without smoking. Jane, you're going to need your lungs, especially in the time of COVID-19. So treat it as a blessing. Let us all try and train our minds to see the positive in every single situation. That's all the time we have for the program this hour. This EWN News Report is brought to you by Clicks Pharmacy. Protect yourself and boost your immunity with the 2020 flu vaccine. Now available at 400 Clicks Pharmacies nationwide.
This is Eyewitness News.
The Health Department clarifies the state of doctors with COVID-19 and the global death toll from the virus passes 30,000. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Health Department says health workers infected with COVID-19 in the country did not contract the virus from patients they were treating. The department released a statement late last night announcing that 13 doctors in 4 provinces are among the latest confirmed cases of the virus. There are currently 1,187 cases across the country and 1 fatality in the Western Cape. Nyakalo Defo has more.
The health workers with confirmed cases of COVID-19 are from Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Free State and Gauteng. The health department says most of them are doing well with mild symptoms or none at all. But a 70-year-old doctor in the Free State is in ICU. All the essential workers came into contact with their family members, friends and other colleagues, and their contacts are now being monitored in quarantine. The health department has emphasized that none of those who tested positive were exposed to the virus when treating patients. Nyakalo Defu, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, other essential services workers have expressed concern about their health and possibility of being exposed to the virus. Workers, including petrol attendants, security guards, healthcare practitioners and cashiers at food stores, were exempted by President Cyril Ramaphosa during the 21-day lockdown. In a bid to provide South Africans with food, supplies and other vital services during the global pandemic, frontline workers have sacrificed isolation to keep citizens going. Veronica Mohwadi takes a look.
While millions of citizens have heeded the call to stay at home, it's business as usual for South Africa's unsung heroes. While some essential service workers have taken the role as a duty to the country, others have taken the opportunity to ask for better pay and safer working conditions. Sidi Twala, who works at a Johannesburg supermarket, says there has been no social distancing in grocery stores, leaving him vulnerable to contracting the virus.
As for me, I find it challenging because if people are locking themselves in and I'm supposed to be at work, I don't understand. What's the point of locking my family in and I'm going to work and I come with it and bring it to them in the house? That's my concern.
Guarding a chain of deserted restaurants in Sandton, Johannes Ndlovu echoed the same sentiments. He says security guards are not prioritized and are often overlooked by the public.
When it comes to say lockdown, they need security. But when it comes to pay, you can't get nothing. What about the guys who have family? Maybe I've got 3 children. I'm working 6 to 6. I can't see my kids. But end of the month, we get the peanuts. We are putting in risk. If I am sick now, can I get where the money to go to hospital?
While these men and women continue their responsibility in ensuring that essential services are fully operational, South Africans are urged to convey sentiments of gratitude. Veronica Makhwadi, Eyewitness News.
The National Ministerial Command Council dealing with COVID-19 in the country has been updating the nation about the outbreak on a regular basis. Yesterday, some ministers gave an update on the work being done to deal with the virus in their respective departments. Basic Education Minister Njimutsega says teaching will be intensified at the end of the lockdown to make up for lost time.
We have to regazette the calendar because it's now completely disrupted. We are in constant also contact with our partners like the teacher unions, the parents, to look at extending our learning hours. So we have put in place different measures to protect the year. So we are going to do whatever it takes. There is no 2020 to go down the drain.
While Higher Education Minister Blade Tamande says there's a possibility this year's academic program will be affected.
The fact of the matter is that also our post-school institutions cannot afford to lose a year because it means that you can't have new students. So we are aware of that. Much as we are looking at the 21 days, we're also looking way beyond that, beginning to say how do we begin to put in place measures, not only just to catch up, but also to try by all means that we don't lose the 2020 academic year.
Water and Sanitation Minister Lindiwe Zulu says plans have been made for areas with no water supply.
So far, we've gone ahead with procuring water tanks, and we've procured 41,000 of them.
In COVID-related news from around the world, the number of fatalities as a result of the virus has now passed 30,000. Countries around the world are implementing lockdowns to try and slow the spread and ensure that there's a small percentage of people and most likely to develop complications can get the help they need. In Spain, the government has announced stricter lockdown measures that will force all non-essential workers to stay at home for the next 2 weeks. It's one of the European nations that's been worst affected by the pandemic, with a steeply rising infection curve. Overnight, its government reported 832 new coronavirus deaths. And the world's largest glove maker says it has a shortage of gloves due to the spike in demand because of the widening coronavirus outbreak exceeding capacity. Malaysia's top glove company BHD says it may not be able to provide gloves to countries like Europe and the US as they have made large orders. The company's chairman says they have gone to an extent of extending shipping times to cope with the high demand. For more on the coronavirus international lockdown, follow us on Twitter at EWN Reporter or go to ewn.co.za. Taking a look at the lotto numbers this morning: 6, 13, 14, 19, 28, 45. The bonus ball is 4. Lotto Plus 1 numbers are 24, 25, 26, 34, 39, 43. The bonus ball is 21. And Lotto Plus 2 numbers are 7, 11, 20, 21, 24, 48, and the bonus ball is 17. These numbers are available on ewn.co.za. It's a partly cloudy Sunday in Gauteng. Johannesburg is at a low of 13, peaking at 25 degrees. Pretoria, 14 and 28. Vereeniging, 12 and 27.
And in your sport, Steve Smith is free to captain Australia again after a 2-year leadership ban imposed on him for the ball tampering scandal in South Africa ends today. And New York Knicks owner James Dolan has been diagnosed with COVID-19, becoming the first U.S. major sports owner to test positive for the virus.
The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: the Health Department says health workers infected with COVID-19 in the country did not contract the virus from patients they were treating.
Eyewitness News. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.
A strong immune system is a vital prevention measure against viruses. Getting the flu vaccine is one of the most effective ways to boost your immunity and protect your family against infection. The 2020 flu vaccine is now available at over 400 Clicks pharmacies nationwide. For more info, visit clicks.co.za/fight the flu or speak to your Clicks pharmacist. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
What you need to know about the coronavirus
on the 702 app,
on 702.co.za,
and on 702. 702 Weekend Breakfast. Live, online,
smartphones,
DSTV channel 856
and 92.7 and 106 FM.
Welcome back into the third hour of Weekend Breakfast with myself, Nicolaas Bauer, and we have a chance now to kick back and do a little bit of a profile with someone that is producing very important content at this juncture. David Scott of The Kiffness is our guest for the next hour, and you've
postponed or stopped because of the virus. Did you see this? The Deputy First Minister of Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, she broke down in tears talking about a patient who had been warned that their cancer treatment would stop because of pressures on the health service due to the virus. Well, we wanted to bring a couple of people together as they are in similar situations. We have Mary Canis, 61, living in Illinois in the US. Hi, Mary.
Hello to you.
Very good to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to introduce you to Ruth Kirk. Hi, Ruth.
Hello.
67, lives on the Isle of Man. I'm really sorry to hear that both of you have had ongoing breast cancer treatments that have been cancelled. I want to hear from both of you. You can also, of course, feel free to speak to one another because you have things in common, even though you're in completely different parts of the world. Mary, talk us through what your situation is.
Basically, I've been going through stage 3 breast cancer treatments for the past 2 years. And this is a hormonal cancer, and it actually metastasized, which means that it is spread out to the breasts and has moved into different areas of my body. And the one area that they're very suspicious of, and the nature of the way it is the uterus. The hormonal cancer might have gotten into the uterus, and it needs a hysterectomy, and it needed a hysterectomy at the time they diagnosed my breast cancer. Well, I was supposed to have that surgery on March 20th, and the Monday before that, Friday, I was told that they were canceling that surgery because of the coronavirus.
What's happened with me is slightly different. I had a mastectomy about 18 months ago. I've still got cancer under my armpit on the left-hand side. Only small areas, so the best thing to do was thought to be turn onto a drug called letrozole, which I take every day. That drug has some unfortunate side effects, such as osteoporosis, which becomes very risky. So at the same time, I was put onto every 6 months, so I would have an infusion of a drug called zoledronic acid, which helps to protect the bones, but it also actually has an action on breast cancer itself as well. And I have various other things. So I would run, I think it was only yesterday, but the time is so weird now and everything changes so fast. I think it was yesterday. A very nice nurse from our hospital rang me and told me that all those treatments have been stopped. I wasn't completely surprised because last week all my pain treatments were stopped. I've got a large area of neuropathic pain from the mastectomy, which is a complication that happens to some women. That's had me in hospital with breathlessness, very bad breathlessness several times. I've had to have an ambulance and so on. So I've been having a really helpful, though very painful treatment for that, the pain thing. That's now all been discontinued as well. And the other really sad thing is I've just started falling over all the time, and they think it's possible that the cancer is now metastasized into my brain. So I'm kind of waiting for a scan, but I will be very surprised to get one, to be honest. I just don't think normal treatments are really available at the moment for an awful lot of things. So I'm very philosophical about that.
But so difficult. Yeah, I'm so sorry as well for both of you. Mary, go ahead.
Yes, I'm so sorry to hear that that's happening to you. That is very, very, very sad.
Yeah, my position is no worse than yours.
Yeah, in the United States right now, and especially in Illinois, the hospitals might be stopping the treatment because they're only taking in emergencies. But our doctors and our treatments are like the basic treatments that are necessary. They're doing them. But we haven't been cut off of that yet. But it might happen in the future. We don't know.
Yes, I mean, the hospital that I go to here, I live on a small island with about 80,000 inhabitants. We have a small but absolutely amazing quality hospital where the kindness and service that you get all the time is just unbelievable. And they just aren't going to be able to cope with a great influx of people very, very ill and needing ventilating without really stopping pretty well all the other work. And I went to the fracture clinic this morning because of my fall, and they were still running the fracture clinic, but a lot of things have stopped.
Are they giving you any timeline, however, Mary?
The hospitals have been actually, and I've gone through this for over 2 years, they've been wonderful, magnificent. They have saved me. I was getting really sick, and I had to go through a lot. So getting in more toward this coronavirus situation now, they're doing protective measures. And what they're doing is giving us like temporary dates. Like the doctor called up and he explained everything very good to me because I was very upset, needless to say. And he corrected some things that might have been told to me, and then he said that I was on the top of his list for the next scheduled dates. And then the next day, the nurse called and gave me a date, and that would be April 17th. They were kind of like going step by step, day to day, minute by minute with us.
Like the rest of us with so many things, but we don't have some of these crucial aspects that Mary, you have, and also Ruth. Ruth, no date for you?
No, I mean, there's no way anything can be predicted here. It's just starting to really kind of spread and take hold on the island. We managed to avoid having any cases for quite a while after the UK started. But just in the very last few days, all our planes have stopped. The boat's still going backwards and forwards, I think. But everything really has been locked down. Everybody who possibly can is being at home now. And, I think everyone's just doing the very best they can.
You sound
almost lost for words.
Well, you sound very pragmatic to me, Ruth. I think
I'm very pragmatic. Yes, I'm not afraid of dying, which is a big help. I think I'm a new Catholic. I was confirmed last year, so although we can't go to Mass at the moment, I am very fortunate to have that. I've got a good, strong faith, and what I really want from all this is that some people will survive. I'm sure some people will survive, but I honestly don't think I'm going to be amongst them. So there's not much point in me getting really, really upset about that. Just that's how it goes.
I've only met you, and it makes me incredibly sad to hear that.
Oh no, well I'm not sad at all. But I'm sad for other people, and I know a lot of people are upset. With news like this, some people get angry, some get upset, some are incredibly distressed. They have expectations that things should be done. But I honestly think that we're all in this together. Those who have skills are doing the very best they can. It's no good having expectations because lots of things just can't be done anymore with the best will in the world.
Ruth Kirk from the Isle of Man and Mary Miscanis from Illinois in the US. Now, Ruth mentioned that she became a Catholic last year, and religion is something that gives people of faith across the world a huge sense of comfort and spiritual meaning. But in many places, mass gatherings are now either discouraged or cancelled. Bruce Reyes Chow is a pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Palo Alto, California. Rabbi Mark Asher Goodman is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US. And Muawiyah Tucker is an Islamic teacher with a degree in Islamic law from the Islamic University of Medan, Saudi Arabia. My BBC OS colleague Luke Jones began by asking Muawiyah how the pandemic is changing what they do.
Initially, everyone was a bit unsure about what to do because we have kids classes as well as adult classes where we teach how to read Quran and the Arabic language. So we took precautions by wiping down surfaces, making sure all the children wash their hands as soon as they came in, and also we made sure that they sat away from each student whilst they were in classes. But then as the situation got more serious, we thought we would be proactive in this regards, and we made sure that all the children, they continued studying, but we changed our classes to online.
Bruce, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, our congregation was one of the early congregations to decide to shut down our entire facility, not just our worship services. And it came to the point where we realized here in California, where the epidemic turned pandemic had become very serious, that it wasn't about us. It was a public health issue. We also decided that our community wasn't bound by walls. We had already been doing online gatherings. So we were just going to meet in a different location as if we were going to a different building. We're just now going to be on Zoom.
Which I should explain is a video conferencing app. Rabbi Mark.
We're a very small synagogue in Erie, Pennsylvania. So we're kind of piggybacking off of a synagogue here in Pittsburgh to do everything by Zoom. And the interesting thing about that from a Jewish perspective is that the rules of Judaism mean that in order to have quorum, you need 10 people in the same physical space. But the movement that I'm part of, Conservative Judaism, declared that during the pandemic, for obvious medical reasons of the importance of preserving life, that we would permit it to be done digitally over the internet. So that's one way. And then another way is I teach a class on Wednesdays, also over the internet.
From your perspective, do you lose something from the sense of community you get from worship and faith by having to be, down a Zoom line instead of face-to-face? Muawiyah, what about you?
We don't use Zoom, but we use another application whereby we still have face-to-face contact. And to be honest, communication these days, generally speaking, social media has made it quite easy. Generally speaking, in the mosque, there are a lot of people who love to go to the mosque and always attend the mosque, and it's been very difficult for them to conceive the idea of praying at home. Even if yourself are not personally concerned about your health, it's more about the idea of you could contract to someone else. There's a very important principle in Islam that you don't harm others in your actions. As in, none of you truly believe until you love for others what you love for yourself. We don't want to harm anyone else, even if we are not concerned for ourselves. The main premise is not to harm other people, and because of that, we kind of call in that regards.
And Bruce, is that the same with the Presbyterian Church?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think every church is certainly different. We're a pretty broadly aged group, but we lean towards a little older. And so our folks are habitually, they go to church on Sunday. So we talked a lot about not talking about the word canceling, but that we're just transitioning or shifting to another space. And we use Zoom in particular, and we don't stream our services, which means that we don't just have people leading and people watching. We actually, in our services, we begin with people not being able to see each other's faces. And then at a moment I reveal, and all of a sudden there's 100 faces on people's screens, and there's an audible kind of exhale of, I see you. So we see each other. We also understand that any gathering leaves somebody out, and we're seeing this as an opportunity to meet new people, to encourage folks to return. In fact, our first Zoom service, we had more people in attendance on Zoom than we do on Sunday mornings in person.
Mark?
It's a little harder for my community because they're predominantly older. A lot of them are just not technologically savvy enough to hook up to the internet and do a teleconferenced version of daily prayer. The last time we met, it was a lot of elbow bumps instead of hugs. And that was also, I think, a little weird and a little bit challenging. We've canceled all in-person prayer services through April 15th, but we're looking at the likelihood that it'll be longer. And I think also for a lot of my congregants who are 70 and older, meeting on a regular basis once a week on the Sabbath, on Friday night or Saturday morning, is one of the most important, and sometimes for some people, I think one of the only social gatherings they have in an entire week. So we're talking about significant amount of social isolation. So the way I plan to combat that is we sent a paper letter out to everyone in the congregation. One of the first things that was on that letter was that I plan to make a personal phone call to every single member of the congregation to check in with them to see how they're doing, for them to talk to neighbors from 6 feet away and to be able to check in, but also for the more serious things of worrying about, is someone bringing them food? Has someone taken care of bringing them medicine? So as much as the social isolation is concerning for me, I have some larger concerns about my older congregants and whether they're going to be able to manage just the basic day-to-day necessities of quarantine.
For Muslims, generally speaking, Muslims are supposed to pray 5 times a day in the mosque. So as you can imagine, 5 times every single day, the impact of this is going to be quite huge, as in now you have to just pray at home. I just finished recording the video, actually, just giving different guidelines how to pray at home, and a lot of people are not used to it. As in, you have to remember, we've always prayed 5 times a day for over 1,000 years. It's never stopped. So the idea of it stopping is quite a big shock. And actually, just on that note, when the what we call Masjid al-Haram, or the main mosque in Mecca where the Kaaba is, for the first time in our lives we saw it empty, and a lot of people were really shocked, as in really shaken to their bones, to see the place which was always busy 24/7. To see that completely empty was a shock for a lot of people. There was messages going around, videos, people in shocks, and we've never seen anything like this. They thought it was the end of time.
And on the topic of ceremonies, weddings, funerals, Bruce, how are you managing that?
At this point, you're not allowed to do any of it. Our entire state of California was given an order to shelter in place. So we'll make some of those decisions when that mandate is lifted. Our position has been and was out of an abundance of caution and love. We don't want to participate in the spreading of the virus. So everybody understands.
Rabbi Mark Asher Goodman, Bruce Reyes Chow and Muawiyah Tucker. The cancellation of ceremonies, including funerals, has definitely had an impact on families around the world. Sylvia lives in Dublin, Ireland, and her Italian grandmother recently died from the coronavirus in the province of Parma. Upa Paddy is here talking to Sylvia about her grandmother.
She was 94, but in good health, and she was still living on her own, and believe it or not, she was still teaching. But she loved children and teaching so much that she kept going. So every afternoon her house was full of kids coming to do homework, and other teachers going to visit her and getting some tips and advice. And her brain was still full on, smart and clever, and, no problem whatsoever there. I don't think they thought the virus was going to hit so badly in our area, so we're not sure how she got the virus. But at some stage 2 weekends ago, she started to not breathe well, and she didn't have a temperature or cough, nothing. She was just not breathing very well, and her legs were really swollen, so they brought her into hospital because of her age mainly. And then when she was in, they were able to look after her pretty quickly, and she was feeling better. But then during the week they run more tests. So by Wednesday they saw some pneumonia in her lungs, and from then it was very rapid. In 2 days she was gone.
I'm so sorry, and she sounds like such a wonderful spirit, teaching all those young children as well.
She was full of life, yeah. And as soon as they saw pneumonia, they put her straight away in isolation.
Was anyone with her?
No, they weren't allowed. So when they saw pneumonia, they took a test for coronavirus, and she was locked in isolation. So she had a very long and happy life. My main regret is that she died on her own, because nobody was able to be with her.
It must have been, or it is rather, a very difficult time for you all. And as I understand it, your father is also unwell.
Yeah, he's been in hospital since Saturday. He also has pneumonia, and now we don't have the results of the virus yet. They probably will get them tomorrow, but most likely. I would be surprised if it wasn't the same as it is. He's not too bad, he's not in intensive care. He's 70, so he's slightly younger, so hopefully.
This is a lot for you to take on. This must be so difficult for you to digest, that this has all come about so quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I have actually digested it. I just keep going, and, because you're far away, somehow you're a little bit removed. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like if it's not real in a way, I think he will sink in slowly. At the moment, I'm so worried for my dad, and I'm just hoping that he's gonna come out of this okay, that I can't even afford to mourn my granny. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I assume you have been unable to lay her to rest.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Funerals are not allowed at the moment. On Monday, they brought her from the hospital to the church. There's only 4 people, which are actually the ones that are in self-isolation. So they went out for that occasion, and then they went to the burying place. And that was it. That's another thing which is really upsetting, because she was a very, very popular person in our town. Only back in October, she was awarded a medal from the town because of her contribution. So she was absolutely, almost a celebrity in our town. Everyone knew her. So the fact that they couldn't even pay a tribute to her because of the rules for the isolation and everything, it's really upsetting.
Sylvia on her beloved grandmother, and while she couldn't travel to Italy to pay tribute in person at the funeral, she was at least able to do so to millions of listeners on the BBC World Service. I'm Nuala McGovern with our Coronavirus Global Conversations. More next time.
This is the BBC World Service, where we're navigating the world through sound.
This is where we come out and really enjoy each other. As you can hear, we have an airplane going above us. You hear the water splashing against the wall. You got music in the background.
I'm Peter White, and in Sounds of the City, we're exploring what I, born blind, can hear,
Museum Park Station,
taste, touch, and smell of the places I visit.
There's little restaurants all over the place. So depending what you want to eat or what you want to smell or what you want to taste, just by walking and getting the sense of the music that's playing, you know what you're going to eat.
So do you say I can hear that sound, therefore I'm on this street?
Oh yeah. You can be walking the streets and you can be listening to somebody speak Creole, French, German, Brazilian.
In the first episode, I'm taking my tape recorder to Miami in the United States.
Sounds of the City, Tuesday at 12:30 and 21 GMT.
Why are women in jazz still not getting the recognition they deserve? On The Conversation, you'll hear from 2 award-winning musicians who are working to support and promote women in the industry. They'll discuss why certain instruments are still seen as being typically male or typically female, the beauty of working in all-female ensembles, the experiences of being a woman surrounded by men, and why overall things are looking positive for women in jazz. That's all after the news with me, Kim Chaganit.
BBC News with Eileen McHugh. President Trump has made a U-turn on the idea of imposing a quarantine on New York, New Jersey and Connecticut, the areas worst hit by the coronavirus outbreak. He floated the idea on Saturday but rode back hours later after the governors of the states fiercely opposed it. President Trump said that instead of a quarantine, a strong travel advisory would be issued. In Europe, the number of people killed by the virus has risen above 20,000, with both Italy and Spain reporting more than 800 deaths in one day. Italy has introduced temperature testing for all new arrivals from abroad, handing them masks. In France, the Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, warned the battle was just beginning. Across the world, a number of governments have expressed concern that the need for families to stay indoors for an extended period of time could lead to increased cases of abuse. Australia is to boost funding to tackle abuse by nearly $100 million. In Britain, the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, said measures to combat the virus had left people in domestic situations that they had been struggling to escape. France and South Africa have set up hotlines for people in domestic distress. The cruise ship, on which 4 passengers have died and at least 2 others have tested positive for coronavirus, has finally been given permission to travel through the Panama Canal. Zandam is trying to sail to Florida after being refused permission to dock at several ports. More than 1,200 passengers are on board. Scores have developed flu-like symptoms. And the world's oldest man is celebrating his 112th birthday today. Bob Wheaton, a former British teacher, lived through the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. But he will be spending this year's birthday in isolation because of COVID-19. BBC News.
Welcome to the programme that puts women centre stage. This is The Conversation. Each week on the programme, 2 women from different countries come together to talk about something they have in common. I'm Kim Chaganeta. There are plenty of women who've made their mark on the world of jazz, from Billie Holiday to Esperanza Spalding. But overall, women have not always received the recognition they deserve. They are rarely written about in history books and have a harder time booking festivals and gigs. My guests today are committed to